This video is going to help us to do a little bit of practice, kind of stuff that you've probably already covered in this unit, but we're going to go back and do a little more practice so you have some examples in your flipbook. The first section here, given the p-value, find the a value of the parabola. And if we remember, class, we've got two equations that we have learned. If you know what a is and you want to find p, if you know what p is and you want to find a is equal to 1 over 4p. If they gave you a and are asking you to find p, it looks almost the same. P is equal to 1 over 4a. So in this case, we're being given the value of p, and they're asking us to find a. Let's go ahead and do that for the first one. So if p is equal to 2, what is the a value? Well, a is equal to 1 over 4p, which is 1 over 4 times 2, which is 1 over 8, so 1/8. Gets a little tricky, so practice your fractions. The next one, p is equal to 1/4. I'm not going to rewrite the equation now. I'm just going to go ahead and rewrite the value, the equation with p already plugged in. A is equal to 1 over 4 times 1/4. If you put that in your calculator, 4 times and then parenthesis 1 divided by 4 parenthesis, you're going to get 1. Remember our fraction review. You can also change the 4 to 4 over 1. 4 over 1 times 1 over 4 is 4 over 4, which is just 1. So I'll write that out. This is 1 over 4 over 4, which is 1 over 1, which is equal to 1. Next one, p equals negative 3/4. Again, when you write these, be careful when you write. Make your dividing line really long so you can keep track of your numerator and denominator. So p is negative 3/4, so a is equal to 1 divided by 4 times negative 3 over 4. We're going to multiply the numerator times the numerator. This is like 4 over 1. 4 times 3 is 12. And then this has the denominator of 1, so 1 times 4 is 4. And don't forget, that is still negative, because a negative times a positive is negative. And 12 over 4 is actually 3. 12 divided by 4 is 3. And that's still going to be negative as well, because this is a negative fraction. Think of this as either negative 12 divided by 4 or 12 divided by negative 4. It makes no difference. Just put the negative sign on either the numerator or the denominator when you put it in your calculator, and you'll get the right sign. And we can write this now as negative 1/3. It's the same thing as 1 over negative 3. Alright, and the last one, what if p is equal to negative 3? A would be equal to 1 over 4 times negative 3, and that's 1 over negative 12, and we can rewrite that as negative 1/12. So there's some practice of finding the a value given a value of p. Take a look at the next section. For each quadratic equation, find the p value. Well, remember, if I know a, I can find p with the formula 1 over 4a. Well, we know the a value of all of these equations are right here. Here's the a value. There's no number here. That means our a value is 1. And here's our a value. Let's make a little note here so you remember this. A equals 1. A equals negative 1/4. And a equals 1/3. Remember our parabolas, class? If a is positive, the parabola opens up. If a is negative, like it is in the first question, the parabola opens down. Alright, let's find our p values. So in this case, p is equal to 1 over 4 times negative 1/4. If you put 4 times and in parentheses negative 1 divided by 4 and close parentheses, you will get 1 over negative 1, and that would be -1. Now, one thing to note here, I'm sure I've talked about it in class, but just to make sure you see this, if your A value is negative, your P value will always be negative. If your A value is positive, your P value will always be positive. And the opposite is correct as well. If your P value is positive, your A value will be positive. Take a look. All of our positive P values gave us positive A values. A negative P gives you a negative A. So be aware of that as you're finding the values for P or A. Okay, in this case we've got, oops, we're not looking for A, we're looking for P. The P value is equal to 1 over 4 times 1. That's an easy one. That's just 1/4. And then the last one, our P value is going to be 1 over 4 times 1/3. This one gets a little bit tricky. This is 1 over 4/3, and we don't want to leave that in the denominator. We got to move that to the numerator, and that means we're going to multiply the top and bottom by the reciprocal of 4/3, which is 3/4. So we're going to multiply the top and bottom by 3/4, and that means our numerator, 4/3 times 3/4, is just 1, which means it goes away. We don't need to put a 1 when we have a denominator of 1. We just can not write it. So 1 times 3/4 is just 3/4. So our final answer here is 3 over 4, 3 divided by 4. All right, last one. Let's take a look here. What is the focus, directrix, vertex, p-value, and axis of symmetry of the graphed parabola? All right, let's go through these. Well, we know the vertex is the lowest or highest point on a parabola. That means this must be the vertex. Let's go ahead and label that or write that down. Now, the vertex is at -2. Oh, I don't know if this is exactly 1/2 of the way. Let's figure that out in a moment. I know this is going to be my focus, and that's right on the grid. That's going to be -2, +3. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. And my directrix, you can see, is every point where y equals -2. Everywhere on this line, y is equal to -2. So that is my directrix. All right, let's look at our p-value here for a moment. The p-value is the distance between the focus and the vertex. Now, I want to know whether this point here is exactly between the grids. Is that exactly 0.5 or not? That's pretty easy to figure out. If the focus here is at 3, let's count the distance between the focus and the directrix. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The distance between the focus and the directrix is 5, and we know the vertex is going to be halfway between those. That means this has to be a p-value of 2.5. So our p-value is 2.5, and that puts our vertex exactly in between these 2 points, and that means our vertex has to be -2, and this is exactly between the 0 value and the 1 value, so that's going to be +0.5, exactly in between. And then what is our axis of symmetry? Let's take a look. We know our axis of symmetry is going to be a line. Let me pick a different color. It's going to be a line that goes directly through the vertex, which actually also goes through the focus, and that is every point where x equals -1, -2. So x is equal to -2. There's our axis of symmetry. Last question here. What is the quadratic equation for this parabola? All right. Well, we know that we're always going to be using vertex form. Y equals a times x minus h squared plus k. And we can see that our h value, let's write it out. Our h value is equal to -2. Our k value is equal to 0.5. That comes from the vertex. And our a value, we have to figure that out. We know our p value, so we can find our a value. So If our p-value is 2.5, then our a value is going to be 1 over 4 times 2.5. And 4 times 2.5 is 10. So our a value is 1 over 10. And that means we can write our equation. Our equation then is going to be y equals a, which is 1 divided by 10, times x minus h. Well, h is negative 2. That changes to positive 2 squared. And then our k value is 0.5. So there is our equation of the parabola. All we have to do is find a, h, and k, and then we can find our equation of the parabola.